Today I'm making a set of hairpin legs. I'm making them out of 1/2 inch hot rolled round bar. I get my steel from a local steel supplier here. The round bar comes in 20-foot lengths. I have the steel supplier cut it into 10-foot sections for me. Makes it easier for me to bring it home. My first step here is to cut it into the rough length I need. If I'm making a leg, I take the length of the leg, multiply that by 2, and then add 4 inches. And that accounts for the radius of the bend in the leg, and then a little extra for when I cut it to its final length. Then it's over to my portable bandsaw I have mounted to the wall for its first cut, its length. And this thing is a lifesaver. One of the best investments I ever made in my shop. It's simply, when I bought it, that was the first thing I did is I fabricated up a bracket to mount it to the wall, and I zip tied the trigger on and plugged it into a foot pedal that I got from Harbor Freight, and this thing has paid dividends in the way I've used it. But like I said, as far as getting back to the actual build, I literally just take the bars and cut them on the mark I just made and lather, rinse, repeat 4 times. And after that, it's literally going to be on to the next step of removing the mill scale. To remove the mill scale, I use this real simple trick. I just simply soak the round bar in white vinegar overnight. That seems to do the trick for me. Here I am putting on some gloves after a 24-hour soak in the white vinegar. The round bar is ready to come out of my high-tech PVC containment system. Once I get my first piece out, I go ahead and to clean it off, I chuck it up in a drill, and then simply just grab some gray Scotch-Brite and put my bear paws on it and just go to town and clean it off. The only problem I've ever had doing this is me being a short, fat guy, and on some along the longer table legs, you end up, having a piece that might be almost 70 inches long, and my wingspan tops out about 65. So there you go, and I have to do the old pull out and step on the trigger. But actually, if you look right there, you can actually see how well it's actually cleaned. You can see that line right there. Before I actually got to about the last foot of the round bar. So there you go. Just run the Scotch-Brite up and down the bar while it spins in the drill, and it cleans it right up. Well, some people like the look of the mill scale. Some people don't. It's all up to my customers. After that, I put it right back into the vinegar and swish it around a little bit to kind of rinse it off, and do the same thing with a rag to clean it off. And again, have to do the old put the drill on the ground and step on the trigger to completely clean it off. But that's how I handle the mill scale. And you can, like I said, you can actually see how much shinier the round bar is. It actually gives it the look of cold rolled as opposed to it's actually hot rolled steel. Next step is real easy. We got our round bar all cut to rough size. It's all cleaned up. Now all we have to do is measure and find the center to mark it for the apex of our bend. Simple as that. And that's what I'm doing right here. I'm going to do that, obviously, 4 times. Now on over to the bender. This is the part in the build that where the round bar starts taking shape and actually starts looking like hairpin legs. Now, as you can see, I'm adjusting my bender. This is just a simple bender I got from Harbor Freight. I think it cost about $70. I'll have a link to it down in the description. And here you're just basically you just select the die you want for the radius of bend you want. You put your bar in there. You kind of tighten the arm of the machine down to get it kind of crimped in there. You make sure your mark is lined up where you want, and that's just me just getting it lined up. And come back around, you grab the bar, and you kind of bring it around. Now what you can't see here is I have a mechanical stop set up on there so I don't overbend the bar, but literally that's the entire operation right there. You pull the bar out, now you have an actual table leg, and you see it, nice curve to it, and like I said, you do that 3 more times and that's it. And now, time to cut the legs down to their final length. This is the jig I made. I kind of copied the jig from Max Hemphill at 5th Street Fab on his hairpin table leg video. Really is, his jig is actually a lot nicer than mine. I didn't have the same materials as he had, but basically with this jig, it cuts both ends of the table leg at the same distance, at the same length, so that all the table legs are the same length, and they're not crooked. This jig actually cuts 2 legs at the same time. But how it works basically is, if you see, first I started by measuring from the bandsaw blade back to my desired length. I took my mechanical stop and I put it at that length and clamped it down. I put 1 table leg in there just to double check that it's centered. And once I clamp it down, you'll see I come back and clamp the other side. I come up and I have a piece that holds the legs down on the front end, and I'll bolt that down. You'll see here in a second after I put the second table leg in. It's coming up in just a minute. And sadly, I don't have a video of me actually building this jig. Maybe one day when I rebuild this jig and actually make some improvements to it, I'll do that. But like I said, I took the idea for this jig from Max Hemphill at 5th Street Fab, and his jig is, like I said, actually a lot nicer than mine. But you know, like I said, here's my screwing down and in the next shot you'll actually get a better view of this hold down mechanism right here. And you can see it holds it down, and once a blade comes down, it holds them in place, and it keeps all the rods from moving around. From there, we move on to fabricating the mounting plates for the legs. Here I'm using my Evolution 360 cold saw, which is, if you're on the fence about buying one, I would suggest do it. One of the best investments I've ever had to make for my shop. The plain and simple, great machine. I'll try to put a link down in the description to the one I have. But I fabricate my mounting plates out of 1/4 inch by 5 inch flat stock. I cut them into 5-inch squares. Once I have my mounting blanks all cut out, it's time to lay out the pattern for my mounting holes and my cutout for my smaller square to turn these into L brackets. I didn't have any blue layout fluid, so black Sharpie is going to have to do. And forgive my clumsiness, I was trying to do this for the camera so that the camera could actually see and the viewers could actually see what's going on. So basically I just rough lines and then I scribbled it out so that you could actually see where I scribe later on. Now with my makeshift layout fluid, I can go ahead and scribe my cut lines, as you can see I'm doing here. It looks kind of cheesy, but it works better than not doing it at all, or just scribing on the mill scale. This works out in a few minutes, when I cut that smaller square out on my portaband, it makes it a lot easier to see. Next is to lay out the holes. Each one of these brackets gets 4 holes each, all 3/16 inch in diameter. They're all spaced half inch away from the long edge, and the holes in the corners are ½ inch from the long edge as well. The 2 middle holes are 1 3/4 inch away from the long edge from the other holes. If you can comprehend what I'm saying, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's fairly simple to see once you see what I'm doing. Other than that, I'm not going to explain it. It's actually fairly simple to see once I plot them out. Other than that, after this, it's just a matter of punching the holes, drilling them out, taking the plates over to the portaband, cutting that square out, and then putting them in a vise and taking the mill scale off with a wire wheel. Like I said, it's pretty boring to watch. I'm not going to bother showing that on film. After that, it's pretty much ready to weld. We'll pick up after that. Now on to the really fun part, the welding. This is where the legs actually take shape and all that, and this is we're in the home stretch here. So this is where we kind of, sometimes you got to finesse the legs into final shape. You set them up in this jig, and in the next shot you'll actually get a better view of the business end of the jig here. But basically it's just a couple pieces of metal I welded together in an angle to hold the jig, or to hold the leg at the right angle and keep it in contact with the base plate when you weld it on. And those magnets just keep the ends of the leg in contact and at the right spot on the mounting plate. So just a couple of tack welds right there, and it gets them right in place, and a couple tack welds on the other side of the leg, and that's it. And take the magnets off and pull the leg out and set the next one in. And like I said, here's that next shot here where it's from above. You can see where you set the mounting plate in, and actually at this angle it's kind of hard to see, but there's 2 pieces of metal that will set the leg up against. You can see I'm kind of closing the legs up right there to hold up against them. And I'll take those magnets and stick them up against the legs there to hold them up against that. And then I'll just go ahead and tack weld them after that, and pull them out of the jig, and we'll finish weld them. And the last bit of business to do on these is do the finish welding around all the bases of the legs. You just got to run a bead around both ends of the leg and do that 4 times. After that, it's just a matter of brushing the bases, get all the welding slag and the burn marks to go away. And I like to finish up with a rag and some acetone to get the oil and stuff off from my hands from handling them and cleaning them up. And that's it. And I'll show you the finished product here in just a second. Here they are, all finished and completed. 4 legs. Took me, from start to finish, it really only takes me a couple hours to get them done, aside from the 24-hour soak in the vinegar. But the actual maintenance time to get them done was really only about a couple hours. As always, if you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and look forward to hopefully seeing you on the next video. Thank you.